Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Soup Breakdown. Today we're talking about the F91 Gundam F91, piloted by Seabook Arno. The F91 is a very, very fun 400. It does its job very well and has a lot of fun toys that I think a lot of people forget about. The charge is the fun little beam bazooka there. The recharge time on the standard melee is actually, or the standard shot is actually really good. The charging melee, as in forward melee, is that nice beam saber spinning there. Then you have the VSBRs, the variable speed beam rifles. They have a relatively decent recharge time on them. If you use them while moving, you get the two separate shots there. But if you use them while you are stationary, you instead do a single shot like that. A really cool trick that I think a lot of people don't realize: if you charge the VSBRs with a melee instead of doing it with the standard shot, then you fire off your shield, and that shield will straight up deflect attacks for you. It's really handy. You can also turn on the MEEP system, which a lot of people call the variable speed system. That's not what it's called. It's called the MEEP system, but it's fine. It's active for a very short period of time, but during that time, there are multiple versions of you, basically, in the form of after images, and homing attacks actually have a really hard time hitting you, which is really cool. The burst is a pretty cool range. Well, we got completely interrupted there, so I'll have to show you on the second round. But the burst is completely ranged, so you don't have to worry about trying to get in close range to do it. The striker is the VSBRs as well. When was the last time we died on a Soup Breakdown? It doesn't happen very often. The striker is the VSBRs as well, which does mean you can combo into a double VSBR just like that, which is pretty nice. For melee, you have that forward spin, which is probably my favorite melee. But you also have this really nice slide that you'll see again in a couple other F91 suits that the F91 has when doing the horizontal slashes, left or right. That's very useful, actually, to be able to dodge things like Garobis if somebody is moving and then firing them. You have the pop-up that is decent, does decent damage. Standard melee combo that's pretty good, and then, of course, you have that forward slide that does some really nice damage to it. The real advantage of the F91 is in its mobility and its really nice mix of... It's a really good short-range unit, short to mid, where it's a nice mix of melee and ranged to give you a lot of different options. The burst is kind of hard to land, as you saw there, because it is completely ranged and doesn't have a hit confirm. If you miss with the first shot, you're probably going to miss with the entire thing, because there's not really a hit confirmed to stun. But the addition of the MEEP system that lets you dodge a couple homing attacks gives you a lot of increased speed, even if it goes away very quickly. While it's active, you also have reduced charge times, so that's pretty nice. But again, it's not there to last, honestly. You're not going to have it for very long, so don't depend on it. But I enjoy the F91. It's a lot of fun. I think that there are a couple things that I would have liked to see to make it a little bit better. Maybe a little bit more damage. But all told, it's definitely fun. And really easy to use, honestly. If you've been torn about whether or not you should go for a mid-range unit, it is fairly simple. This Burger Gyros, man, he just wants to run today. He doesn't even want to try and fight. Making it really hard to pin him down to kill him before time runs out. But as we go into the second round here, we'll of course ask the question, should you use the F91? And I think yes, honestly you should try it out. The F91 is nowhere near perfect. It does not do as much damage as it feels like it probably should with its melee attacks. The majority of its damage is tied up into the VSBRs. It does have some fun tricks that I think definitely make it more fun than you would expect it to be. Specifically, that shield toss that can deflect a shot that's fired at you is really nice, and I don't think people will expect it to happen. And if you were running in for a melee attack like this, and you were boosting forward and you had your melee attack going, and then, as you can see, it just blocked that one. As you're charging in, they fire something at you, no problem. You've already got that charged up from going in for the melee. Just throw the shield out there, and they can't hit you anymore. But I will say your main damage dealer is always going to be the VSBR, and you really want to try and focus on using the VSBR as much as you can and connecting with it. While you're in MEEP mode, you also get, like I said, extremely better, faster cooldowns. it basically becomes fire the VSBRs as much as you want for a brief period of time, which is really nice if you're good at using them. If you're not, then, you know, trouble. But the charge shot on the beam rifle is pretty decent. It's a series of 3 shots that do some pretty good damage. It's really good, too, for picking apart at somebody from a distance if they're not wanting to get close to you. It's one of the few actual longer-ranged options that the F91 has. But power-wise, it's still not quite as good as the VSBRs. If you land all 3 shots, it does about as much damage. But, you know, who's going to let you land all 3 shots on average all the time? Especially considering if you've already hit them, they're going to go into a down state, you know. No shots there. In fact, I would say the addition, like, down states existing are the main reason why meat mode is not as powerful as it could be. Because having the VSBRs at all times, having, like, permanent access to them could be super broken. But with the way that downs work in this game, it kind of holds the F91 back a little bit. And makes it fair, I guess you could say. But, you know. Also, a little thing to mention there, always remember if someone's firing a stun at you and it's a physical projectile, and you're using a beam weapon, you don't have to dodge that. You can just fire and you will break it. Physical projectiles always break to beams. We can just basically spam this thing with how quickly it comes back while we're in meat mode. After meat mode, you know, then we're back to normal. I see you keep trying to stun me, Zamine. Uh-oh, uh-oh. There we go. So yeah, if you're a fan of mid-range suits, I think the F91's really, really good at mid-range. I don't think it's as good long-range. It doesn't have quite as many options. The VSBR can hit from long-range, but it's not perfect. The lack of a stun kind of holds back the F91 as well when it comes to the usefulness of meat mode and the VSBRs. If you're paired with a stun or you have a stun support striker, then that could make a really nice combo there. But I do think the F91's worth playing around with. I think especially if you pair it with like a Burgagiros or like a Marasai or something like that doesn't cost that much but is pretty easy to be able to support with. I think it can be really powerful. And especially in matches with like more than one opponent, I feel like the F91 really shines. But until next time, I've been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that the F91 has to offer.